Good afternoon, and thank you for attending Hierology's webinar on humanizing healthcare interviewing with AI. We have Brett Kerhofer here, our market strategy lead, and Danny Whelan, our group product manager. And we're excited to get started. So after further ado, go ahead and kick it off, Brett and Danny.
All right. Thank you, Katie, for that intro. Glad to be here. Thank you all for joining us. Today, we were going to be talking about humanizing healthcare interviewing with AI. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. We wanted to start out with a little bit of an overview of where the healthcare space is currently as it relates to hiring and retention and where the opportunity for AI lies. As the demand for facility-based care soars amongst an aging baby boomer generation, talent acquisition in the industry remains more challenging than ever. Even the more successful facilities today face a range of challenges when it comes to recruitment, from a lack of quality candidates to inefficient hiring processes and candidate ghosting. And one driver behind today's hiring challenges for facilities is basic supply and demand. According to the March 2024 BLS jobs report, there are about 1.5 open jobs for every active job seeker. But in sectors relying on hourly trade work, this gap is even larger, largely due to an emphasis on flexibility and other changing priorities among younger generations in the workforce. In March alone, the healthcare sector created about 72,000 new jobs. But the shifting landscape of candidate expectation presents an even deeper challenge today. Job seekers, particularly those from younger generations, have grown accustomed to seamless digital experiences, personalized interactions, and immediate gratification. They demand a hiring process that mirrors the convenience and efficiency they experience in other aspects of their lives, whether that's booking a flight, scheduling their own healthcare appointments online, or other. And if they don't receive that streamlined experience, they are at risk of ghosting you. So facilities must adapt to meet these evolving expectations or risk losing out on top talent to competitors who are better equipped to provide a fast, candidate-friendly hiring experience. Because ultimately, attracting the right talent is essential for healthcare facilities to maintain high-quality patient care and sustained business success. Staffing levels directly impact ratings through improved outcomes and patient satisfaction, and ratings are the primary driver of bottom line growth. And of course, that's where the opportunity lies with AI. Human beings can only do so much. We're limited on how fast we can move and how much information we can process. But with AI, you can automate manual work, streamline process exponentially, and ultimately provide that fast and convenient candidate experience today's talent pools expect. And of course, one aspect of the hiring process that can be detrimental to your ability to capture top talent in your pipeline is the interviewing process. It's traditionally a cumbersome process that is prone to many errors along the way, whether that's interviewing the wrong people from the get-go, moving too slow, which leads to ghosting, or asking the wrong questions. But ultimately, HR teams are short-staffed and are limited by human limitations that make improving this process difficult. And most job seekers agree and admit that they are feeling the effects of these outdated processes. In our annual survey of healthcare job seekers, we found that of those who admitted to ghosting interviews, most said they did so because the hiring process was taking too long. And the next most common reason was because of a lack of transparency from an employer. So not only are you already dealing with a shortage of workers, but your manual and inefficient processes are making it harder for you to capture the job seekers that are available on the market today. So now that we see where the potential for AI lies, let's quickly get some definitions of AI out of the way. At a high level, AI refers to technology capable of performing tasks that typically require human intelligence, including problem solving, learning from experience, understanding natural language, recognizing patterns, and making informed decisions. The ultimate goal of AI is to enable machines to mimic cognitive functions and execute complex tasks autonomously. AI is typically broken out into 4 types as it relates to its capabilities. That's reactive AI, limited memory AI, theory of mind AI, and self-aware AI. All types of AI in use today fall under the first 2 categories. Reactive AI can perform specific tasks based on presently available data. So reactive AI doesn't have any memory, so it can't use previous experiences to inform actions. One example of reactive AI in everyday life is recommendation engines like you might see on Netflix or Spotify. And then you have limited memory AI, which can perform specific tasks like reactive AI, but it can also temporarily recall past experiences and monitor situations over time to achieve a desired outcome. Examples of limited memory AI include generative AI platforms like ChatGPT, as well as natural language processing assistants like Siri and Alexa. And as it relates to use in enterprise settings, both reactive and limited memory AI can be broken down into public and private AI models. Now I'm going to pass it over to my partner, Danny, who's going to talk a little bit more about the product-specific stuff we're working on when it comes to AI.
Thank you, Brett. And hello to everybody on the call today. So we know interviewing in healthcare is ripe for innovation, and most consumers are open to some version of AI. But where can it play a role in your processes, and what tools do we have in Hierology today that can help get you there? You probably have an idea of where it fits at a high level, but let's get into some specific examples to paint the picture of where we're headed as it relates to interviewing in your industry. First off, we are, how do we streamline the internal interview process with AI? The most important and kind of first part isn't actually interviewing. Surprise. It's making sure you're interviewing the right people. So one of the most important parts is just ensuring that, especially in healthcare, you aren't interviewing people who aren't trained or certified in a specific discipline. You don't want to interview somebody without a registered nursing license for a registered nursing position. That's going to waste your team's time for someone that you know is not going to be a right fit. So screening candidates, not just with people, but through automation and with AI, is a super helpful way to work smarter, not harder, and get to those really great quality candidates faster by getting rid of the folks who aren't really ready for what you need them to do. So we've got a couple of tools in our platform, from screening to collecting certification documents and automating outreach, that I'll go through here quickly. First is our pre-screen survey. So you can send this kind of ad hoc, or you can have this automated for everybody that applies for a specific role, and you can change these questions per job. You can send out a list of questions that are important to you to understand. We always recommend that you keep the application process pretty short, because if you have a long application process, if there's logins, any impediment to entry for the job seeker is going to reduce that applicant flow and reduce that quality applicant count. So we want to keep the application small, and then we use our pre-screen survey and the automation where you can just send that to every applicant to get a little bit more information about them that's going to be key for you to understand whether they're going to be a good fit or not. So in this example here in the screenshot, you can see our first one. In past jobs, I spent much of my time working with hands-on supervision. If you want someone to be able to work mostly on their own without a ton of hand-holding, that's going to be a key question for you. You can see here, we call those knockout questions here with this. You can automate and say, hey, this person answered something. I needed that to be false. They're not going to be a good fit. Let me take them out of the running for this and focus in on the folks who have the necessary experience and answered to some of those key questions, whether it be certification related, work schedule related, that you need to make sure that they're going to be a fit for that role. We also have an automation for capturing missing information from the application. So you may not require all of the fields as job seekers apply in that application, but you want to know as much of that information as possible. So we have a great automation here that you can send, again, kind of ad hoc or automatically, to say, hey, you're missing something that I want to know in that application that's key for me understanding whether you're going to be a fit for that role. So again, another great way to use AI automation to get as much information up front about the candidate without making that a cumbersome application process. So you can make sure you're getting the top quality folks interviewing and spending the time on the people that you really think have a good shot at being a fit. And then finally, document collection. So this is something that we use as you move folks through the process to actually capture whether they have the certifications that you want, and then any test results. So whether that be a CNA certification, like in this example, and then some TB test results to make sure that they are healthy enough to work in the facility that you need them to. Those are key pieces that we help you collect with this automation and function feature that's going to help you, again, make sure that you're getting people with the right experience, the right certifications, everything that they need to make sure that they're going to be a fit for you. So now that we've kind of talked about pre-interviewing, what about scheduling? We know scheduling can be an incredibly cumbersome back and forth for recruiters. You email or text somebody, hey, what's your schedule look like? We've all done it, whether it's with friends, family, candidates. It drives you nuts. So we want to make sure that you are not the middleman as a recruiter, as a folks trying to run a process, and that back and forth becomes a little bit more of a streamlined process, because not only is it going to drive you crazy, it's going to delay your process, lead to ghosting, as Brett kind of mentioned earlier, where if job seekers are having a frustrating time getting to that next step, they've on average applied to more than a dozen jobs. So someone's probably reached out to them. So speed to getting them into your process and moving them forward is key. And when you frustrate those candidates, you're leaving a bad impression that's going to either lead to ghosting, or even if they get further along, they may consider another offer over yours. So let's automate it. That's the fastest, best way that we know to make this easy for you, is instead of doing the back and forth in email or text, what's your schedule? Here's what's available on my end. We have a wonderful interview scheduling tool that you can see here that lets you select what kind of interview type, who the interviewer is, sync to their calendar so you can see their availability up to the moment. And then you can select available times and send those out to the candidate and let them pick at a time of their choosing. So right away, as soon as you know you want to interview someone, you can effectively generate a meeting link, send that out to them, and let them pick. And this is from their point of view. They're going to get an email that says schedule your interview now, and then they can select from those available times that you've provided them. So it's a super quick, streamlined way to get the availability from whoever needs to interview, send that to the candidate, and let them pick on their own time, instead of having to do that crazy back and forth of trying to get calendars in sync. So you've scheduled the interview and everything goes great from there, right? No one ever ghosts, no one ever doesn't show up, easy peasy. We all know that's not true, unfortunately. So when we talk about engaging talent pre-interview, we want to make sure that you are keeping up to speed with the candidate while they're either waiting for an interview, in between interviews, keeping them warm, reminding them, and you're going to have a higher chance of those folks not ghosting you. So we've recently released earlier this year an automated interview reminders feature that takes care of just that. So instead of you having to keep them warm with texts or emails during that time manually, we have just built in automatically, as long as you don't turn it off, sending a reminder to candidates. So when you schedule something through our interview scheduler that we just talked about, you're going to have an opportunity to send a reminder to them automatically before the interview. And you can customize that too, to be just text, just email, change the time when those get sent, to keep that candidate engaged and remind them, hey, we have this coming up. We're really excited to talk to you. And they'll get that. And we've seen some pretty fantastic results so far with that. 10% of our interviews we've increased interview completion by 10% since releasing that feature for the customers that are using it. So they're seeing a 10%, to put it another way, drop in ghosting, just from having a quick reminder that goes out to the candidates to remind them that they have this coming up. So again, automation that autonomous ability to react and send something is huge for just keeping people warm, keeping people engaged, getting them into that interview with you so you can find out if they really are going to be that fit that you need. So now that we've solved screening the right folks, we've scheduled our interview, we've got them warm and ready to show up. Once they're actually in the building with you and you're conducting that interview, we want to make sure that we get it right. It's not all about getting it just up to that. That's the finish line, right? We want to make sure we have a good interview. We understand whether that candidate's the right fit. And it can be very difficult to get that right. It's easy for poor fits to slip through when you ask questions that don't uncover red flags, when you don't have a standardized set of questions or guides that really help your hiring managers and recruiters ask the right stuff that's going to make sure that they understand like who that candidate really is and whether they're going to be that fit. So the questions need to be appropriate for the role, for the seniority level. They need to be consistent. We don't want to fall into what I refer to as vibes-based hiring, which is the easiest thing that we can get into. We've all done it before. We're like, that person seems great, but you don't really have necessarily a scientific way of understanding whether that person's right. It's always a little bit of a feeling out, but we want to make sure we don't fall into just, they seemed good. We want to get to the real root of who they are and whether they're going to be that right person for the role. So without proper questions and consistency, it's too easy to fall into that and through the cracks. And at the end of the day, this is like almost the most important thing out of all of this is we get the scheduling, we go, but we want to understand in those interviews that we're asking the right questions. And that's something that unfortunately our managers and recruiters don't always have time to do, right? Is come up with that consistent, really solid bank of questions. So again, this is something that Hireology and some of our automations can really assist with. We have interview guides within that are tailored to our industries that our team helps you get set up. So you can understand, like really get a consistent list of questions that you feel like get to the root of what you need to know about that candidate to establish fit. And those are available right within the interview, right within the platform. So they're super easy for your hiring managers or recruiters to get to either during the interview or beforehand to make sure they have that bank of questions that they can ask. And then you can score those here as well. So if you're looking for, again, a consistent, not just questions, but rating system, an ability to say, hey, between 3 people that might have talked to that candidate, instead of just saying, I felt like, you can score those and put a little bit more rigor behind it to make sure everybody's kind of staying on the same page about how we are rating these candidates, who we want to move forward, and who's going to be that best fit. So that's interview guides and something that's been available in our platform, but something that you can do today that we are going to be adding in the platform over the coming months is you can use ChatGPT or generative AI to establish some of those interview guides and questions. So you don't have to come up with all of those on your own. AI is a fantastic tool that can help you build quality questions based on, you give it a starting point and it's going to really help you based on everything it's seeing out on the internet from everything that it's learned, giving you a pretty good bank of questions that you can take from, add into your interview guides. And again, that's something that you're going to be hearing more from us on how we're going to be adding generative AI into the app over the coming 9 months. That I think will be pretty exciting and help you do some of that right in platform, so you don't even have to use that tool. But right now, ChatGPT is a fantastic way to get to where you want to with less work and more quality. And that's it for product features. I'll shut up and give you to the main man. Back to him. Brett, over to you.
All right, thanks, Danny. Some exciting stuff that we're working on when it comes to AI in our product, and obviously a lot of stuff that we have already built that can help you not only speed up your hiring process, but identify and capture more quality candidates. So let's continue the conversation by addressing biases and other concerns. And of course, we can't discuss AI without discussing concerns that might arise by making racial and ethnic biases worse. So Hireology recently did a study with HR recruitment managers and asked them questions about AI. One of the questions we asked was, do you have concerns about bias as it relates to AI in recruitment? Right about half the total respondents said yes to this question, meaning that lots of people still don't trust AI completely. Recruiting and HR is a personal yet complex field. And so, where the right answers and decisions are almost never, clear cut, right? There are always going to be some level of interpretation needed. And it's natural to have some concerns about reservations when it comes to AI and adding that into the mix. So, two major concerns that stand out. Number one is decision-making quality. So, while AI has a potential to complete tasks in a human-like manner, it will always lack the intuition and nuanced perspective that human beings bring to the table. AI tools only know the historical information you've provided, but human beings can contextualize a person's potential beyond data points. So without a human touch, you can't guarantee that the best decision will be made for the unique needs of your team. Many times, and especially in healthcare, the best candidates aren't always the ones with the best resume. Number two you see here is biases and discrimination. Concerns around biases and discrimination are also a critical thing to consider. AI-driven hiring processes depend on the quality of the data used to train those algorithms. Biases present in historical data could be made worse by AI, in fact, leading to unintentional discriminatory outcomes. So to ensure fairness and transparency, a level of human involvement is and will always be essential. While you can conduct data audits and work to improve your algorithm, it will never be advised to leave the final decisions solely up to AI. So simply put, AI should be used to empower your team to work smarter, not automate the final hiring decision. So while some examples we discussed, oh, I'll just wait for this slide to catch up. Thanks, Danny. If you want to go to the next one. While some examples we discussed today are possible to do now, many are future state concepts. So what you can do to set yourself up to be able to quickly embrace these types of tools as they begin to appear in the market, we can talk through those things now. There's really four things that stand out to us today. In addition to experimenting with the AI-powered tools that are available today, it's critical that your technology and your data is equipped to handle AI tools as they continue to evolve and emerge in the market. So, number one is experiment with public resources like ChatGPT. As mentioned throughout this presentation, and like Danny and I talked about, tools like ChatGPT are a public resource. You can and should be experimenting with ways to leverage these types of platforms to work smarter, not harder. Why not use it to draft candidate emails when you can then revise and reuse throughout your hiring process? Or experiment with promoting it to write job descriptions. It'll take time to pinpoint the right language specifically to use in your prompt, but over time, you'll be able to understand exactly how to get the output that works for your team's needs. Number two here, leverage forward-thinking recruitment software. Many applicant tracking systems and recruitment software providers are beginning to integrate AI into their platforms. Look for platforms that embrace AI to help bring better solutions to the market and provide efficiency for its users. Platforms that have already embraced AI in these capacities are most likely to be developing cutting-edge functionality down the line. Number three is revisit the quality of your data. Private AI is likely to have the biggest impact on AI in recruitment in the future. But the only way to really maximize the quality of the outputs on private AI is to ensure that the data is trained on is complete and accurate, right? You're only as good as the data that you have. That means each individual in your talent database must have a complete profile, and every rejection, interview, or hire is logged in the system with as much information as possible. That way, the algorithm can learn to accurately match talent with open roles over time. And the last you see here is remove data silos. In order to fully leverage the potential of private AI, it's important that your data is centralized. So AI is only as smart as the data that it's processing. So if it's fragmented and living across different systems, it's difficult for the algorithm to see the full picture. This means you need to work with providers that integrate and avoid siloed systems. All right, let's summarize it all up here today. So a couple things we want to highlight here. Hiring remains challenging, especially within the healthcare sector. One of the biggest roadblocks to fast and effective hiring is a cumbersome process of interviewing. And AI has the potential to revolutionize healthcare interviewing in the following ways. Number one, streamlining internal processes. Number two, automating internal interview scheduling processes, engaging talent pre-interview, and conducting better interviews overall. And with that, Danny, I want to thank you for joining today's webinar. Feel free to reach out to Hierology for more information about our product, AI, or what we're building. But I think at this point, if there are any questions, we are happy to answer them.
Well, Brett and Danny, it looks like we don't have any questions. So thank you all for attending today's webinar, and we hope to chat with you soon.